And to Park Place Lanes here in Wyndham for another edition of Candlepin Stars and Strikes. This is our semi-final round here. And welcome, Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. And we've come to the next to the last match in this series. Steve Vadney, of course, has been in this situation many times before, and he's facing a newcomer.
Right. Bill Wright's going to be the challenger this week. First time on the show, and all he has to do is meet up with a fellow that I think he owns the show. I don't know. He should rename it the Steve Vadney Show, I think, sometimes. But he's first time in the show. We'll see if the lights bother him, and he's got a tough opponent in Steve Vadney.
All right, let's meet our two bowlers. First of all, as we mentioned, the newcomer from New Hampton, New Hampshire, with an average of 120, making his first appearance on our program. You can meet Bill Wright.
And it's one of those things that first mark is very crucial for a bowler that hasn't performed in front of the lights, because it is kind of nerve-wracking. He gets that first couple marks, seems to settle the person down, and let's hope for Bill's sake he opens up real quick.
All right, last week, in case you missed it, Steve Vadney came in as the number 3 seed with his 126 average, and he threw a 382 to knock off two-time winner Tom Morgan, and in that 382, Steve had 16 marks in the match.
Yeah, we talked last week with 16 marks. He probably should have been over the 400, but a win is a win. 385 or 386 is a good three-string total, and he started off real quick. Second box on, he strung, I think, 5 or 6 marks in a row, and he never looked back.
Well, aside from our match, which should be a good one, we also have the bonus ball contest coming up at the end of the show. It'll be worth $90 this time around. So we hope you have your postcards in the big TV over here, and we'll get to that at the end of the program. But we've got 3 strings of Candlepin bowling upcoming. Semi-final match in this ladder series. Bill Wright against Steve Vadney. We'll get it started right after we get these messages. Our semi-final round. The number 3 seed and the number 2 seed. Steve Vadney knocked off Tom Morgan last week, stopping his 2-match winning streak. Tom had started this series with wins over Clarence Davis and Al Bolduc, so now Steve faces Bill Wright for the right to meet Gary Carrington in next week's ladder championship match. And we'll, of course, be looking forward to that one. Gary Carrington has been here on a couple of previous occasions as well, and he had that big 692 in the roll-off, so he's just waiting for an opponent next week, and we're going to settle this right now. Bill Wright to get us started on lane 32 here at Park Place Lanes. His very first appearance with us on the program. He's brought some supporters with him.
Half Worcester to the right, tops out the 3 and the 9.
Earlier in this series, a couple of weeks ago, we had Al Bolduc with us from Meredith, and Bill Wright is another bowler who is active up in that area as well, as he gets out of it with a 10. In fact, Bill qualified in the original preliminary roll-off at Meredith Lanes.
Two, 4, 7 with the 6.
Bill with kind of a stand-up delivery and really turns the ball over from right to left. (19) pair to start. And now Steve Vadney. Remember him? This is appearance number 22 for Steve. He has a record of 16 and 5.
4, 7, 10. Piece of wood in front of the 4 and 7. He's got to need some help from that to clear out the 10.
Steve is also one half of our reigning mixed doubles champions. Steve combined with Jackie Sterner to win 5 consecutive matches last spring, and keep in mind that 2 weeks from today, after we complete this series, we will begin our final series of the year, and that'll be mixed doubles once again. Again, that will start 2 weeks from today.
6, 9, 10 with the 8 pin. He's going to use the wood, carrying the ball off the wood for the 8, and hopefully the wood will take the other 3, and it does. Nice shot by Steve Vadney, first mark of the match. There you see the ball carry him off the wood for the 8. Interestingly, usually you see the 3, 5, 6, 9, 10. This time he's got the 8 there also.
Ooh,
And almost came back door for that one.
Missed the object pin, and that's the only pin left. Another 10 for Bill. Bill and his wife Mary live up in New Hampton, New Hampshire. And Bill has a very interesting occupation. He is a logger up in the Center Harbor area, not near, on the lake.
Trying to come off the wall. Ooh, almost.
Talking about Bill's profession with him before the show began, and he said the thing he likes most about it is just he likes being outdoors. .39 through 4 for Bill, and now Steve Vadney working on a spare in the second. Nine drop, solid 5 pin.
There it goes.
Make it a 10 drop.
Solid 10 drop. Solid 9 with a nudge. Looks like he's going to be left with just a 5 pin, which just got enough speed to knock the 5 over. Two, 4, 6.
Last week, Steve had 14 spares and 2 strikes.
Off the wall for that one. Almost. Well, so far he's remedied the fills. He's got 2 marks. He's got a 10 fill on one and a 9 on the other. So he's improving that category so far.
And he's off to a quick 20-pin lead. Bill Wright looking for his first mark. That was close to a lob out there. Dennis Noel keeping a close eye on it.
2-4 left for a spare. Gotta hurry. Really fighting to have the ball break back from right to left. Now, a lot of the bowlers are able, and I think it's a knack. That's the overcorrect at that time. Really turn the ball over, put the spin on the ball, make it break. A lot of bowlers have the knack of reading the lanes, and what I mean is the lane dressing. If they oiled the lanes, and it's a wives' tale to think they put wax on them. They don't put wax on bowling lanes as much as many people think they do. It's an oil. There's a lacquer, and then there's an oil that seals the lane or protects the lane. And that's what they use. And sometimes the ball will slide a little bit depending on when they put the dressing on. You've got to be able to pick that up, especially if your ball breaks from right to left or left to right for you. It's not going to if they just recently put some oil on the lanes. Or it's not going to break as much, I should say. So Bill still looking for his first mark.
Pinning well, though. Right through the center.
Oh,
and again, he gets a break. Steve is just so consistently on the head pin that it's a very subtle difference sometimes. Left or right of that head pin dead on that makes the difference. And that time it looked like he was going to punch straight through the center.
He's going to have to negotiate the 7 pin. The 7 pin's a problem here. There you see why. Just not quite enough angle. The wood was turned just a little too much to deflect the ball and the pin away from the 7 pin.
And here's another look at that problem. Right over the top. That time, a nice pocket hit on the Brooklyn side, leaving the 5 pin again. Here's what Steve is looking at. This won't be easy.
Come up high in the wood. That looks good. That's a nice shot. He made it look awful easy. Wasn't quite as easy as it looked. Or Steve made it look. Don't forget our next tape date, April 26th. Hawaiian Shirt Day.
That's right.
There's a good-looking ball. Well, the result is not that great. 8, 9, 10.
Just in case some people are thinking Hawaiian Shirt Day.
I know. I was saying, let's let him squirm a while. You know, what is he talking about?
The crew celebrates the coming of summer every year here at Stars and Strikes with its annual Hawaiian Shirt Day, and this taping on April 26th, which by the way will be mixed doubles, is also going to be Hawaiian Shirt Day. I mean, that's like doing 2 promotions in one day.
I know. We're looking for a record crowd, so take the day off, call in sick, whatever you have to do, but get down here the 26th. We're looking for a real big crowd. Last taping session.
Wear a Hawaiian shirt if you have one.
Sure, sure. But you know, I know this crew, and that's just an excuse to party after the taping. I mean, I've seen them party because tomorrow was Wednesday or Thursday. It doesn't take an excuse for this crew. Trying to play the wood, still looking for his first mark, and this is what a new bowler runs into sometimes when he comes on the show, is getting those first couple marks up there and getting a little bit of confidence. He's gone 8 frames now without getting a mark up, and he's thrown some good balls. He left the 8, 9, 10 there just a few boxes ago. Meanwhile, I like to say Old Man River. I don't mean that derogatory for Steve Vadney, but he just keeps rolling along, doing what he has to do, hitting the object pin, picking up his share of spare leaves, and filling them quite well.
Well, so far, this has been the difference between this week and last week. Steve's had fills of 10, 9, and 8.
So that means this one's 7. I mean, that was easy to call, though.
Sure.
That's,
yeah.
Everyone in home knew that. 10, 9, 8, 7. Very similar to the shot he had with the 2-4-7. The 10-pin was the problem because of the angle of the wood. He tried to go outside this time and turn the wood, and the result was the same. Left the corner pin standing. 114 with 2 to go.
Second week in a row that Steve has moved to a very quick lead.
He's not one to keep any prisoners either. He gets his nose in front. Tough man to catch. Get over for Bill.
It's got to be a little intimidating, too, for Bill Wright, not only because it's his first appearance and he's bowling against Steve Vadney, but Steve also has his attorney with him.
Oh, is that for any questionable calls? There's a first mark for Bill Wright. That has to help his confidence. Oh, good looking ball. Left the 5 in the 7, piece of wood rolling out.
It'll have to be checked, and it looks like it is heading toward being out of play. He may rather want it there. Give him a chance to turn it a little bit, but Dennis Noel quickly to make the decision, and
ooh, that ball almost caught Dennis. Good move, Dennis. Reflexes are still there. Did you notice that?
Tough down there. Looks easy. It's not.
That's right.
Trying to make the cut shot. Oh, wow. Boy, that was very, very close. Well, Bill got his first mark, though, and nearly came up with a spectacular cut shot. He'll wind up with a 102. And now Steve Vadney. 4 marks already. Five marks.
1-2 pocket. Just no way that 9-pin is going to stay.
Missed the head pin. Doesn't happen very often.
I was going to say it's time for a 6 fill, but I didn't want to jinx Steve up there. Ooh, 5. 129.
Maybe. Ooh. Take the 9 and a 138. So Steve Vadney moves to a quick lead after string number 1 against Bill Wright. When we come back, we'll have second string action and also give you the address for the bonus ball contest. $90 on the line a little later on. We'll do that after these messages. And the number from 1 to 10, the bonus ball at the end of each show. And if your number on the card matches the number of pins that drop, you'll win the jackpot. We're up to $90 this week, so we'll be doing that a little bit later on. Steve Vadney now in string number 2. And once again, we'll remind you several times during the next couple of shows, that last taping of the season will be on April 26th. Tuesday, April 26th. We begin at about 10 in the morning and go until 5:30 in the afternoon. And we'd love to see you down here. We're expecting a nice crowd for our last taping of the season. Hopefully the weather will cooperate, and we'll have some warmer temperatures, and it'll be a good day to get outside.
Come on down.
And by all means, if you have a Hawaiian shirt, wear it.
Wouldn't that be great?
Now, there was a nasty rumor going around that during that taping, the lanes would be specially treated with coconut oil. Is that true?
Jeez, I don't know.
Couple of opens for Steve Vadney to start this middle string.
That's the first pin that Steve left standing. No, he had an open. I was going to say we had a perfect game there by Steve, but he left the 1 pin stand in the last box of the last string.
And it'll be a spare leave for Bill Wright here. The 1-3-6. No wood. Nope.
Again, he seems to want the ball to break from right to left. However, it's going fairly straight. And then he really turned that one over, and he's getting it to break. It's a matter of getting that timing down where you're either going to play it not to break or really turn the ball over and have it break where it normally does. His lanes that he's used to bowling on probably don't have as much stressing on it, and the ball breaks a little more than it does here.
I was just going to say, when you're turning the ball over like that and not locking your wrist in straight, there's obviously a lot more margin for error too.
Right.
Because it's tough to get that same break every time.
Right. The exact amount of spin each time has to be the same for the ball to react the same. So this game is all timing, and any extra movement that you have, it has a tendency to throw your timing off. Wow. You also got to have a little element of luck. Boy, I thought he hit that one in. Just misconverting that last pin, the 10 pin.
That'll be a 9 for Bill. So 19 each. Steve Vadney from Claremont works as an assembler at Sturm Ruger. He and his wife Annette have two children, Jennifer and Stevie. Triangle this time.
2-4-5.
Steve has a high triple of 488. Spares it up in the fourth, but he's also thrown 407 times on our show, and the largest score was a 466 back in November of 1986.
Steve actually hit that 488 in front of TV cameras too. Not our show, but another show. And it was a lane record at the time. Tried to split the 3 and the 6. That's what he wanted to do. Nice shot by Bill Wright. Similar shot, 247 on left with a 6. Seems on lane 31, he gets the ball to break a lot sharper than he does on lane 32.
There it was.
Nice shot.
That was a very nice shot, and now we will pause for a moment here as we get another look at that. Bill Wright with a nice cut shot. The wood was not involved at all, really. And Bill Wright puts a nice spare up in the 4th, trying to make a comeback here on Steve Vadney. We'll have more in a minute. Steve Vadney on a spare in the 4th.
Oh boy, 1 in the 5. Don't see that happen very often. Flush on the head pin, pushed it right straight back into the 5. 2 Phil.
Ooh. Steve's had a bad box or two. Both, not this week, but last week.
It's funny. I sit back and we listen to each other. And Steve Vadney, he's had a bad box or two. Like it's, you know, it doesn't usually happen to him. He's immortal too.
Well, right back with a strike.
Last time he was on, I had a number of people ask me, what was wrong with Steve Vadney? Like he had the, you know, flu or something. It had to be something wrong because he lost. This is a challenging game on any given day. Like I said, look at that. It was a good ball going in. He's got a 7 drop, but a tough spare leave. Steve would be the first to admit last time he was on, with the exception of last week, he just didn't bowl good.
Well, Bill has managed to cut a few pins off this lead, but he is now opposite a strike. So to make it last, he's got to keep marking.
Flush on the head pin.
Another
break.
Yep.
Well, 7 and 9.
This one is at least possible, depending on what the wood does.
Going to play it low on the wood and have the ball carry him off into the 9 pin, have the wood take the 7. Comes up too high, may deflect the ball in front of the 9. Well,
Boy,
I was wrong all the way around. He hit it high, carried the 9, and left the 7.
Bill seems to be pinning a little bit better.
Yeah.
He's picking up the singles even for 10 boxes, so there it is again. Boy.
2 pieces of wood hit each other at the same time, cost them the mark.
Steve Vadney on a strike. Off target. 4 horsemen left, plus the 6-10 to the right. Steve has to wait for that piece of wood to settle down. And takes an 8 box. Well, this will be interesting. The 2, the 4, and the 10, but the wood is angled.
And also the cap of the wood is behind the 2 pin, so that'll jump towards the 10. Quite enough.
Well, it'll be 2 more opens for Steve. As once again, he's not had a particularly overpowering string, although he has added 2 more marks.
There's the 5.
Watch out for the 7 now. Well, could take that with the wood. although it's beginning to move away now.
Well, it's a situation he's going to make up his mind before he throws the ball, because if he, well, the wood's rolling far enough away, I think he's made up his mind for him. He's got to play the pin. If he was going to play the pin before, you have to watch it. He didn't cap the 2 pieces of wood. Oh, boy. Oh.
Wow.
I can't help but think that was on his mind as he approached the pin.
Still there for 9.
That was a crucial miss, not only because it would have gained a few more pins, but confidence-wise. Right back in the pocket. Now he doesn't have to worry. That'll take a little bit of the sting out of it, but that would have been a nice fill for him.
Could have just as easily had a double strike.
That's right. Absolutely right, Doug.
Final 2. Second string, Steve Vadney. The 1, the 4, the 7, and the 9. With some assisting wood that's still moving.
The object, of course, is the head pin. Yes.
Yes, he's got it.
I thought he was a little light on the head pin, but it was enough to carry everything.
Pretty shot.
You see the tail end of it, 7 pin going over. 91 in the 9th, plus a ball.
And another 9 drop. And he slipped by. Well, if Bill Wright is going to make a move at this 36-pin lead, this would be a good time to start it. He's working on a strike. He has 2 boxes remaining. And if he gets at least 1 mark, he might be able to cut into this lead a little bit.
Got him in a bunch on the left, on the right. I mean, 1, 5, 3, 6, 10. And 9 also there. 6 fill.
Ooh, that's a daring play there.
Yeah, that's what he wanted to do, that second ball. Good 10. Light hit.
Oh,
That's everything.
Big
wow.
one. That's a big one. This may cut the lead under 30 with the fill. Of course, if he throws another one, it could really get interesting. And he's going to have to reset. Bill now has 4 marks. 2 of them are strikes, but he hasn't been able to put any together. Watch out.
Just a little full. Ball wanted to break over in the 1-2. Didn't quite get there. 3, 6, 10 with a 4.
Take an 8 and a 119. That'll cut 9 pins off the lead. And the situation will be this: Steve Vadney at 248, Bill Wright at 221. We have 1 string to go to see who will face Gary Carrington next week for the series championship. We're right back in a minute. Bill Wright steps up to begin the 3rd and final string. See what he can do with this. The 3, 4, 6, 7, 10.
Nice try.
Mentioned late in that 2nd string, Bill seems to be hitting the target more often. It's just a question of will he get the good first ball enough, and will he be able to convert enough to come back.
If we, you know, I pick some things up and may help, may not. But watch after he delivers the ball. See how he turns? Okay, what's happening is that you don't square your shoulders up to the target each and every time. So you have a tendency not to be consistent from when you start your delivery to when you release that ball. In this game, you've got to try to be consistent. The thing that he's probably work on after he sees the show is trying to maintain that sliding foot toward the target all the time. Of course, I'm talking about a fellow who hit 681 to qualify for this show,
right.
And he certainly had it going that day. And he's had spurts today. It looks like he's going to put a few together, but still in the match, 27 down. That's 3 big marks. But he's yet to put 2 marks in a row together, so.
Steve Vadney taking an extra pin or 2 and leaving himself with what looks to be a spare leave. 1 in the triangle, and he missed it. He went too far left, did not hit the object.
We can compare styles a little bit. Watch when Steve ends up. Almost a sliding foot, pointing right down toward the target pin. He'll keep his shoulders square to the foul line.
Spread eagle.
A couple weeks ago, Tom Morgan picked that spread eagle up to win a match against Al Bolduc.
It's an 8 for Steve. There's still room for Bill Wright. But he's got to string a few marks together.
There's a strike.
There's one.
That time he crossed over nice and tight in the 1-2 pocket. See the ball spinning, wanting to break. That time he just broke over on the 1-2 pocket, and the result was a strike. Looks another good-looking one.
8-9, but it's makeable. See what the wood does.
8-9. He's got 5 of the pins he knocked down still on the plate. Well, he's got a choice, and I think I'd go left.
Got many choices.
Yeah, he wants to stay away from that first piece of wood on the right, I think. Let's go left. Now, whether the other piece of wood in front of the 9 will stop him from making it, we'll see. No, nice shot. Spare on strike. All of a sudden, we're coming right back.
Four horsemen right for Steve Vadney.
Outside.
Yes.
Outside. Nice shot. Outside in a domino effect. 1 into the 3, into the 6, and finally the 10. Looks like a little full. Interesting though. Ball could carry him off that piece of wood. The only thing you have to worry about here is the ball flying straight up in the air, going up over the 4 and 7.
Yep, over the 7. Well, Bill Wright, after he fills this mark when we come back from this break, will be trying to further cut into the lead, and he'll have it under 20 with that fill. We will come back for the rest of this 3rd and final string semifinal match on Stars and Strikes. Don't go away. Bill with the fans behind him to urge him on to greater heights here. He has 2 marks in a row. Working on a spare. Slipping to the left.
Wants to avoid the real bad frame now. He's gained 8 more. It's down to 19, I believe. And that's a pretty good out.
Not an easy leave, even though the pins are grouped. $10. And the 10s aren't good enough at this point.
No, he leaves an opening for Steve Vadney too, with 2 open frames, an 8 and a 10.
And he's going to take advantage of that opening. His 4th strike of the day.
This knocks the 10 out of there, and then finally the 4.
Now this is the kind of shot that Steve has not really made, either last week or this week.
Well, regardless of who wins this match, next week's challenger, Gary Carrington, is going to give both of these bowlers something to reckon with. A real tough competitor, Gary Carrington.
Gary's been with us only on 2 previous occasions. They were on consecutive weeks. He threw 400s both times. The second time he lost. Threw a 431 to beat Roger Marcoux, and then the next week in the ladder championship he threw a 418 and lost to Bob Kelly, who threw a 432.
It was a tremendous match. Those 2 guys went at it, boy. Big, high-scoring match. Tough to bowl 418 and lose.
$7 for Bill.
Everything but the 5.
Wood still moving. Picks it up.
Clutch mark in the 8th, sets up the final 2. 27 pins down. As they're all even in this game, boxes completed, 70 each after 6. Steve is working opposite a 7 frame.
And he's got the 4 horsemen to the left, plus the 10 pin. $9. Well, right now, through completed frames, the lead is 29. Good pocket hit. 5-9.
Big mark. Could possibly be the max for Steve Vadney. At this juncture, Bill Wright's going to have to mark out. Whoa. It's a big miss.
And again, well, what Bill needs is a big fill to start things off on this mark, and then 2 more to have a chance.
1 box at a time, you're right. And right now, the most important ball he's holding in his hand right now.
Looks pretty good.
Oh,
wow.
Listen to that. 5-7. Well, you know, he nearly made this for 10 box. No, for a spare earlier in the match. So let's see what happens this time. He really needs it this time. No. You know, he's in a double strike situation now. Otherwise, Steve Vadney can coast home.
Went for it. box for Bill Wright. Again, another
Oh.
nice hit, and this time a 5-pin.
I think that'll just about do it. Finish off with a mark.
Well, even if he were to fill this for a strike, Steve would only need to get in the high 90s to win.
Well, he's done himself proud, Bill Wright. First time on the show. And boy, ends of the flurry. Spare 9, 112, 122.
And a 343.
A little under his average, but first game was
And
his downfall, really.
And that ball wins it officially for Steve Vadney.
Next week's challenger, Gary Carrington from Plastow, New Hampshire. Does a lot of bowling in Haverhill, as well as Amesbury.
Another one for Steve.
Gary comes in. Gary will come in next week with 132 average in the Pilgrim lanes in Haverhill.
Pretty fair bowling.
Not too shabby. So, as you mentioned last week and the week before, sometimes matches on paper don't live up to their reputation, but it seems to me that on paper we've got a real good one coming up next week with Steve Vadney and Gary Carrington.
Steve Vadney gets the job done with a 370 over Bill Wright's 343. We have $90 on the line in the bonus ball contest. We'll do that, talk to both bowlers, and talk a little bit about next week's championship match in a minute. For Bill Wright, the runner-up check, $125, the smaller version of the plaque from the N&R Trophy Company of Winchendon. Bill, first time here. I know the first time is always the toughest. That seems to go for everyone. Boy, after the first string, you really started to throw the ball a lot better, but not getting the breaks necessarily.
Yeah, I didn't get too many breaks, but nerves, but had fun, enjoyed myself, and I plan on being back.
Well, that's the important thing. We appreciate your joining us, and tough opponent, too, Steve Vadney, first time.
Bowled well.
All right, we hope to see you again, perhaps as early as during the mixed doubles, and if not, certainly next season. Thanks for coming, Bill.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Bill Wright from New Hampton, our runner-up, and now we'll move over to lane 31, see if we can't get a winner in the bonus ball. $90 on the line. Watch out. It's going to be a 9-drop for Steve Vadney, not a match for Gladys Newhagen, or Newhagen. Is it Newbegin? Okay. Gladys Newbegin. Friend of Dan's, obviously. From Warner, New Hampshire. And Gladys, you'll be getting a TV50 NHCBA desk pen in the mail very soon. And we appreciate your joining us on the contest. It'll be up to $100 next week, and this guy will be back next week. Once again, just kind of a workmanlike effort.
Yeah, like Bill, Mr. Wright's first time on, I'm sure he was nervous, and you know, things went my way.
It seems like your ball is very consistent. It goes in your delivery is very much the same. It's kind of like a golfer trying to keep the motion the same every single time. Do you ever make any adjustments from string to string as you're going along?
If I'm punching, I move on the approach, but speed-wise, usually the same all the time.
All right, next week we go for the big money. Gary Carrington will be here.
All right, be here.
All right, thanks, Steve. That should be a good match next week. The #1 seed, Gary Carrington, who's thrown nothing but 400s here on the program against Steve Vadney, and he's thrown 7 400s of his own here.
Yes, the reason I know Gladys Newbegin. She bowls in Concord.
Serious?
Yes, that's why I just chimed in there. That's why I'm here to help you out, Doug. Everyone knows you have trouble reading. You know,
That's right.
You forgot your glasses,
do, yeah.
so
No.
yeah, it should be on paper. We mentioned before at the close of the show that on paper this looks like a classic matchup between two great Candlepin bowlers. So if it turns out that way, well, it remains to be seen next week.
All right, we hope you'll be with us next weekend right here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. It'll be our #1 seed, Gary Carrington, against Steve Vadney for the ladder championship. The big money on the line. We'll be here. Hope you will be too. Dan Murphy, and for the whole TV50 Sports crew.